Hi.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to our latest episode of MSME Masterclass. We are pleased to welcome Mr. Akshay Arvind, a seasoned chartered accountant and partner at DAA Consulting, to this MSME Masterclass. With over 15 years of experience in indirect taxation, Akshay has advised a wide range of businesses from manufacturing MSMEs to infrastructure and trade link enterprises on navigating India's evolving tax and compliance landscape. He has been a core part of DAA Consulting since its inception, helping the firm expand into newer verticals and geographies while leading its Mumbai operations. Beyond tax advisory, Akshay also specializes in life cycle support for international businesses entering India and heads the technology initiatives at EAA. His sharp understanding of fiscal policy, GSE supply chain taxation, and MSME constraints makes him an ideal guide for decoding what Budget 2026 means in real actionable terms. Today, he joins us to break down the cost, compliance, and implications of Union Budget 2026, specifically for MSMEs in steel intensive sectors like construction, manufacturing, and industrial supply. Welcome to our MSME Masterclass, Akshay. It's good to have you with us today.
Oh, thank you so much, Sandhya, for the wonderful introduction. I'm looking forward to speaking at this masterclass today.
Thank you so much, Akshay. Akshay, my first question to you is to just set the context for our MSME attendees. What are the biggest cost implications for MSMEs in manufacturing and construction from Budget 2026?
See, if you see this time's budget, there was a lot of push towards MSME, enhancement, providing them with adequate support. And the core crux of this particular budget by the Honorable Finance Minister was to create a structure. The backbone of the Indian economy is MSMEs. As you know, almost 1/3 of the GDP contribution is done by MSMEs, and around 45% of the manufacturing output is done by MSMEs, coupled with almost 40% with exports. But there is always issues in leveraging this potential to become a global superpower in terms of whether it is credit access or equity access or compliance issues. So this budget takes into account those areas of concern raised consistently by MSMEs in scaling their businesses. And the first fundamental thing which the budget announced was a mid-market capital, which is a growth fund of 10,000 crores. Set aside this particular fund. Earlier, MSMEs even today, they get access to working capital funding from the banks through collaterals and other managers. But the risk capital was missing. For any company to scale or to grow and get the aspirations of our country to become bigger in terms of GDP and become a third largest economy, MSME needs to have risk capital not just based on collateral and working capital, but in terms of the value that can they create. So that was the biggest announcement which they did, was this 10,000 crore fund which they established to provide mid-market capital, risk capital to the MSMEs. Then, apart from that, they've also announced a public capital expenditure of 12.2 lakh crores, which is a significantly large sum, almost 10% increase in the capital outlay compared to the previous budget. This will have knock-on effect in the entire construction, the entire manufacturing, as well as the real estate sector in that sense, for this particular capital outlay. These are the two main, in terms of, if you see the macroeconomics part of it, these are the two main announcements which severely impacts the costing as well as the growth potential of MSMEs. Apart from that, the trade receivable discounting system, TREDS, it is almost 7 lakh crores of receivable have been processed till now. Now they are expanding the scope of this particular system to enable MSMEs to have better liquidity. Especially, they have to wait for their receivables from various customers. This platform allows them to do bill discounting in a more credible manner with a lot of backing from the government. We will dwell on this particular system in a while in detail as we discussed in this particular podcast.
Got it. Akshay, have you seen that there have been any changes in indirect tax, which is GST, that MSMEs need to immediately adapt to?
See, the fundamental change which is there is the invoice management system. It has been spoken for a long time, but there is a lot of push in terms of matching the invoices of your vendors with the purchases which you're accounting. Similarly, the invoices which is being raised by you has to be matched with by your customer. This invoice management system is very critical and it is causing a lot of difficulty. So there is a lot of push for the government to get MSMEs into this particular space of ensuring that IMS matching is done. And this is something that we need to pay keen attention to, because this can delay payments, this can result in notices from department and then scrutiny being picked up. This is one important thing which is there. Apart from that, there is a clarification which has been inserted with regard to discounts. Earlier, post-sale discounts, there was a condition that being given by virtue of a credit note, there was a condition that at the time of the original sale, the customer and the seller should know about this discount, and it has to be pre-agreed at that particular point in time, at the time of the original supply. That condition has been removed, thereby easing in case of any price reduction that needs to be done, any discounts that needs to be given either by the vendors of the MSME or to the customers of the MSME. That compliance requirement has gone away with. Therefore, you can ensure that you're able to issue a credit note to your customer, or a vendor can issue a credit note to your purchases to reduce the value of the supply. So this impacts because there's a lot of issue in credit notes, especially in the context of IMS also. Third is with regard to intermediary services. There is any commission income which is received from outside India, or if you're acting as an intermediary between three parties, and in that scenario you're receiving any kind of remuneration for that support from outside India, that was subject to GST and was also subject to service tax. Now in this budget, the condition, the place of supply provisions has been removed, giving parity to it as an export. So even if you receive commission for acting as an intermediary, you no longer need to pay GST or charge GST. You will be treated this as an export of service, thereby eliminating your cost disadvantage which you had earlier. But the flip side to this is, in case you were paying commission to a person outside India for marketing your products, because I've seen many MSMEs, small and also large ones, in terms of paying a lot of marketing commission to representatives outside India, either in Europe, Africa or US, in which the commission gets paid and there was no tax which was paid earlier on that. There was no reverse charge which was paid on that because it was treated as intermediary services. But by virtue of removing this particular provision, you are now liable to pay GST under reverse charge on this commission which you're going to pay to your marketing representatives located outside India. That would cause accumulation of input tax credit in India. It also impacts models, business models, in terms of commission structure for various MSMEs in this space. So you have to be careful in this, analyze the impact from both revenue perspective and the cost perspective for intermediary. So these are the three main provisional changes. There are a few compliance changes which we can deal later.
Got it, understood. Akshay, also, are there any new or extended tax incentives that MSMEs can benefit from this year?
So the one important one is in income tax, wherein the MAT rate has been reduced from 15% to 14%, and with the introduction of the new regime under income tax. These are two important things, and the old MAT credits, which were there, is going to get lapsed from financial year 26-27 unless you go into the new regime of income tax. The MAT credits will lapse. So this is one thing which I would advise each and every MSME to study it along with their tax consultants about the impact of MAT credits if it is there on your organization, to see how you should structure or which regime you should continue. You should continue the old regime or the new regime is an individual call that have to be done after analysis of their financial documents. Next is with regard to, is a new incentive which has been given up for overseas foreign companies providing capital goods to MSMEs, especially for contract manufacturing. Now they are given a 5-year tax exemption for such companies who are giving this particular capital good to the MSMEs in India for contract manufacturing or toll manufacturing. This reduces the need for capital outlay by the MSMEs, by virtue of getting these products from capital goods from their foreign counterparts, it reduces the capital outlay, and this is an incentive which has been given to promote such industries.
And tell us, what compliance-related changes should MSMEs watch out for in 2026-27?
So there are numerous compliance-related questions which are not relevant directly to with the budget, but in general one is with regard to the IMS matching, which I spoke about, the invoice management system matching. Second is the e-invoice reconciliation. See, we have received notices for various organizations, especially from the GST department, where they struggle to match their revenue with the revenue reported in the GST returns. Every company which does B2B transactions of more than 5 crores, including export, financial year, is required to have e-invoicing. So they are mandated to generate an e-invoice for every revenue which they generate above for this particular entities who are eligible to do e-invoicing. The reconciliation of e-invoicing with revenue is important. Similarly, for e-way bills, for inward as well as outward, this reconciliation is very, very important. Next is there's a new labor code which has been come out, unified labor code, that directly impacts MSMEs. And last one is with regard to income tax. Not much changes, but the revised return timelines has been increased from 31st December to 31st of March, with obviously a fee attached to it, but at least the extension of those timelines are available. So these are the major compliance changes as such which are to be done.
Okay, and does the budget introduce any ease of doing business measures for the MSMEs in core sectors?
No, there are many ease of doing business which were introduced in this particular budget. Two things which I already spoke about. One was the growth fund, which allows access to the risk capital of almost 10,000 crores available to MSMEs. Second is increased liquidity by virtue of the TREDS system. Third one is with regard to corporate mitras. There is something called corporate mitras which MSME sector which wants to be established, the government wants to establish with an association with ICAI, ICSI, ICMAI in Tier 2 and Tier 3 cities to have these corporate mitras to assist SME companies for their compliances at an affordable price. So it is about making sure that the expertise is available at these geographies at a localized level, rather than relying on Tier 1 cities to explain it to your local GST department. So there is a lot of training initiatives along with MSME body, which the government wishes to do by creating this corporate mitras. Next one, there is customs deferral scheme for eligible manufacturer importers, which is coming in. So there is a classification in terms of credibility of manufacturers and importers trying to be established under customs, where at the time of import, because you're a credible importer manufacturer, the government will allow you to clear these goods without payment of duty. Many people even do not know this. I'll give you a classic example, is that there are multiple schemes in foreign trade policy. One such scheme is mover, is basically allows a manufacturer to convert his existing premise, which we have done for many clients of ours, is to convert their existing factory into a custom bonded warehouse, which is under the mover scheme, which allows them to import goods as well as capital goods without payment of any duty, any basic customs duty, nothing, and store it in their premise and use the inputs and capital goods to manufacture goods. And if they export the output, the finished product, there is no duty that is payable. And however, if they manufacture the product and they do a domestic clearance, then they are required to pay the customs duty which was foregone at the time of import. So this creates a huge opportunity which I believe is not utilized by MSMEs at a great level. Many large organizations are doing this, of taking advantage of this particular scheme given by the government, but I don't see MSMEs adapting this in fear of compliance, or I believe knowledge not being there on this particular subject. That is one. Second is under customs, there is something called AEO, Authorized Economic Operator, which allows you to have a lot of benefits in clearing these goods from customs as import as well as export in a very easy manner, reducing the cost of import and the cost of export timelines as well. So this is something which many people do not know of, because not much awareness, I would say. It's more like, a credibility matrix. As you become tier 1, tier 2, tier 3, the benefits and the cost savings also comes significantly higher for MSME. So these two, mover and AEO, is something which is to be explored. Third one is the free trade agreements. As you know, India is signing agreements with so many countries, and it is important to understand how a company can leverage these benefits from these treaties. India already has a lot of treaties, and there are many more new treaties being signed. So it is important for every MSME who is in the business of import and export to see how he can get these benefits in terms of reduced duty or increased market access. There is Carota rules, there is country of origin certificate, there is a separate set of procedures which are to be followed, which are very easy but not explored. So these three custom bonded warehouses, that is in terms of mover, second is AEO and FTA. These three things I believe MSMEs should explore, and it will help them to reduce their cost and also have potential business coming from these particular schemes. Next is lastly, in terms of ease of doing business, there was a cap on courier exports. The value of courier exports cannot exceed more than 10 lakhs per consignment. The government has now removed that particular limit, saying that smaller shipments and highly valuable shipments can be exported through courier mode, not your routine air cargo or your sea cargo, which has a lot of delays as well as a cost associated towards it. Courier is faster and cheaper. But if the consignment value is more than 10 lakhs, they have to go through the normal route. By removing this cap, it allows exports and imports to be made in a much more cost-effective and time-effective manner, which will aid in reducing the cost and ease of doing business for such MSMEs. So like this, there are multiple areas in which you can focus in terms of either efficiency in timeline or efficiency in cost, which is a paramount exercise that needs to be done as tax optimization and cost optimization study for an MSME.
Okay, and also tell us, have there been any announcements specific to credit access or formal invoicing for MSMEs?
No, certainly. See, the credit access is especially the collateral-free loan. Earlier, the collateral-free loan limit was 10 lakhs. Now, the government has increased it from 10 lakhs to 20 lakhs. It might sound a small sum, but immediate access without a collateral to the extent of 20 lakhs will help a lot of SMEs. And second is linking of the GEM portal, the government procurement portal, with the TREDS. This is a very significant step because it will enable the MSME companies to have better liquidity, especially when they're supplying to governments. And they've made it mandatory for central public undertakings, enterprises basically, to use this platform for any procurement that is to be done. So by making sure that the liquidity in terms of the receivables is managed well, one of the biggest problem for MSME is the working capital. And soon, I believe many corporates will also start getting into this particular platform created by the government, or there are other platforms also for bill discounting. So this is one thing which often is missed by various MSMEs, is the bill discounting using the government portal or private portals, or even with regard to bills payable. How do you leverage your credit period with your supplier is another thing where you can save cost. Not just your receivables from your customer, your payables also can be optimized to increase your credit period that is to be paid to your particular vendor or a supplier.
Okay, understood. Also help us understand if there are any sector-specific reliefs for either manufacturing or exports relevant to MSMEs.
So one I already spoke about with regard to the export limit cap, a courier export cap of 10 lakhs, which certainly immediately impacts exporters, reducing their cost and time. Second is for SEZs. So there is an announcement which allows SEZs to clear goods domestically at a concessional basic custom duty rate. So this certainly is a welcome move, because with various other schemes coming in, the SEZs were losing was actually becoming lackluster, and there was a lot of pressure in terms of occupancy, or there's a lot of pressure in terms of what's the need for having SEZ, especially with the sunset clauses for income tax exemptions. But with this, there is an incentive which is getting built in terms of SEZ infrastructure who can clear goods to DT at a concessional rate, giving them an immediate cost advantage compared to another person. So these are two immediate sector specific I can think of, which for budget purposes.
Okay, and according to you, Akshay, what changes, if any, have been done to input tax credit rules or GST refund timelines?
GST refund timelines has been rationalized. There's a lot of pressure which is being put on the GST department, to ensure that GST refunds are processed effectively and faster. Number one. Number two, it is also important that many of these companies face working capital issues. There is input which is to be paid, your vendor needs to pay, and your customer may take time to pay. This creates a lot of problems. By ensuring that faster refund processing is done, it helps them to liquidate the input tax credit faster. So that is one which is there. Second is with regard to IDS refund. There is also IDS refund is nothing but your inverted duty rate structure, and this is often missed by many companies. If there is a credit accumulation, your ITC is accumulated because of rate difference, that is your inputs being higher than your output, it creates an accumulation. Many companies do not file a refund claim, saying that it's cumbersome. It's actually a very straightforward exercise, and now there is a push that such refunds need to be processed faster. And there's also a common misconception that if your principal input and your principal output is at the same rate, you cannot go for an IDS refund. Any input, including a packing material, if it is at 18% and your output is at 5, even though your principal input is at 5, you can still go for IDS refund. There are multiple judgments which has come out in this regard, and that allows you to unlock the ITC which is getting accumulated. And in fact, many MSMEs are exploring every opportunity to liquidate the ITC, because ITC is nothing but a cash blockage in your system.
Okay, got it. Tell us, are there any compliance benefits for MSMEs adopting, digital billing or e-invoicing tools?
Absolutely. So e-invoicing helps you to reduce the entire cumbersome reconciliation exercise. It reduces scrutiny, it increases credibility, and also e-invoicing plus IMS matching helps your company to be more cleaner in terms of accounts. So access to capital, whether it is debt from a bank or equity from an investor, becomes more preferable if you are doing digital invoicing, that is e-invoicing, and also matching your vendor invoices with IMS. Combination of these two, in fact, we have done many such projects wherein digital transformation, especially many of these MSMEs are family run. The entire corporate governance as such is extremely important, and one of the part of corporate governance is ensuring that your accounts, the history of your accounts and your financials is clean. And with GST being implemented in 3 prongs, that is, one is e-invoicing, second is the IMS matching of your vendors, third is your e-way bill. These 3 certainly cleans up majority of the accounts if they are into this particular system. Access to capital, both debt and equity, and also credibility, reduce litigation with the department, both income tax as well as GST, because this acts as a confirmation mechanism between 2 parties trading with each other.
Also, Akshay, help us understand, how does the new budget address rising logistics or freight costs affecting steel-linked MSMEs?
So very important, because one of the major costs is freight and transportation of steel and heavy metals basically, and currently everything is done by road. The government has announced a huge project of creating 20 national waterways and a coastal cargo promotion program. This enables this push towards moving away from road towards waterways and coastal ways, especially for heavy material, will help to reduce the logistics cost. And with the promotion, there's going to be a lot of incentives given for them to adopt this particular mode of transportation. It is a proposal. We will wait and see how this plans out, but the intentions are right clear that they want to ensure that this enables the waterways, enables you to reduce your logistics cost. Apart from that, there is also corridors. As we know, multiple corridors are getting established in terms of movement of passengers as well, whether it is the bullet trains between cities or with regard to any kind of freight corridor which is getting established today, not by virtue of this budget, but the announcements of the previous budgets whose execution is currently happening. It will reduce the time taken to travel and also pave way for the third part of it, which is the national national freight digitization, which integrates my FASTag, your e-way bill, and GPS of a vehicle. This is expected to bring in around 6 to 7% reduction in cost. And we have seen this in companies adopting this, giving logistics service providers who are able to map this, are able to leverage their cost benefit and pass it on to their MSME customers.
Okay. And Akshay, what are the implications of any updated TDS or TCS rules for MSMEs working with OEMs or large contractors?
So one of the most important one is the clarification which is given for the manpower supply. As you know, it was a confusion whether it should be TDS should be deducted at 1-2% or at 10%. That is under 194C or 194J. Now this particular budget lays down that entire confusion and says that it is going to be taxed under 194C, and the tax rate will be between 1 or 2%. 1% is for individuals and HUF, and others for 2%. So this is a welcome clarity. Second is with regard to TCS, which needs to be deducted by the seller with regard to the sale of scrap and minerals. Earlier there are multiple rates. Now they have standardized TCS rates to be as 2%. However, the TCS on sale of goods continues to be at 0.1% of the sale of value of goods. So these are the two main things under TDS. Third one is the lower deduction certificate for TDS. Earlier there was a manual exercise where you had to go to the income tax department, make an application, etc. Now they are going to make it online, and it is going to have a set of rules yet to be implemented, but the proposal is being made to get these lower TDS deduction certificates to be done online.
Has the budget proposed any measures to address delayed payments to MSMEs from corporates or government buyers?
Yeah, like earlier I said, the TREDS scheme, the system is being made mandatory for all central public sector enterprises, and the bill discounting is going to be secured by a separate fund. So this addresses a severe chunk of delayed payments from governments. While there is always a statute of 45 days that needs to be made, and after that there is an interest implication, many times it is not honored by many companies and creates a problem. And there is always a negotiation with the MSMEs. But by allowing the bills to be discounted in a platform backed by the government and making it mandatory for government and central government enterprises to use this platform for payments, it helps this MSME sector with regard to delayed payments and address that particular pain of theirs in this regard.
Will there be any impact on energy cost or subsidies that could benefit manufacturing MSMEs?
So there is a Yojana announced by the government called PM Surya Ghar Muft Bijli Yojana, and they're getting around 5,000 crores allocated for that to for basically MSMEs to adapt into rooftop solar panels, and helping them, giving them incentives to basically lay that on top of their factories for intensive sectors. So this will bring in reduced capital outlay for installing these solar panels, which is a renewable energy, reducing their energy costs as well. This is a very significant one, and they want to push this. As you know, China is one of the biggest player in solar panels as well as in solar EV. India also strives to be in that same space, playing catch up, but we are going there.
Also, help our MSME attendees understand how should they relook at pricing or procurement strategies based on cost implications from the budget.
So one is with regard to FTAs, 100% to understand how can they leverage the foreign trade free trade agreements is one. Second is with regard to how they can ensure they are able to get benefits under customs, that is the AEO or the custom bonded warehouses under the mover scheme. Third is with regard to the bill discounting, these aspects which is to the platform, how these cost benefits can be making you more competitive, not just to increase your profitability, but by making your products more competitive in the global market or the Indian market. So these are the main aspects of procurement and supply chain that can be relooked, or even FTW said, like free trade warehousing zone. Many of our clients use free trade warehousing zones to import and store those goods and export it from there, or have tie-ups with global organizations to store goods there without having a legal presence or in India. So that's one thing which also can be explored. The entire supply chain can be relooked from the customs and free trade, foreign trade policy perspective and the free trade agreements perspective. This will give a sizable savings in terms of what can be done for pricing strategies for MSMEs.
And tell us, what are the potential risks for MSMEs that delay aligning with new compliance mandates?
So one is immediate tax demands, which is obvious in terms of non-payment or delayed payment of GST or income tax or non-compliance of the rules. Second is the moment you're non-compliant, you are no longer attractive to investors. The first thing which any external investor wants to see is clean books and compliant companies, so that the risk capital which is getting invested is not risked by other aspects of compliance or impropriety in books of accounts. Third is lower refunds. The more mistakes you do, you'll have lesser credit access, and also GST refunds gets impacted, income tax refunds gets impacted. So these aspects play a crucial role in terms of ensuring you're compliant with the law.
And finally, Akshay, tell us, what are the two or three key steps that every MSME owner should take right now to align with the budget 2026?
So one, relook at your supply chain. That's the most important one, is to see, are you claiming all the benefits which are available to you? Do you know what are the benefits available to you? Number two, be in touch with your local MSME chapter. Most companies just get an MSME registration and they're done. They do not engage actively with the MSME authorities, and there's a lot of outreach being done by the government. Recognize these outreach, recognize what are the schemes, what are the benefits which the MSME body can give us, so that you are tuned and you're able to leverage these benefits. Third, get in touch with your corporate mitras, which is going to be trained at Tier 2 and Tier 3 cities. Get the expertise at an affordable cost to optimize on your compliance costs and accounting costs. Use of AI is something which has to be the future. There is a lot of access in AI at a very affordable scale to MSMEs, and there's a lot of push coming from the governments as well to see how you can leverage AI, whether it is in your supply chain, whether it's your accounting, or whether it is in terms of your payroll processing, etc. So the more you digitize, the more credible you become. The more credible you become, you're able to get better credit access or reduce the cost of borrowing. The average cost is between 8 to 18%. You can be at whichever spectrum based on this particular aspect of digitization. And lastly is with regard to bill discounting and access to risk capital. These two aspects are the biggest thing, and we started this particular masterclass is the access to risk capital is the biggest move done by the government. What can you do to position your company so that you are able to get this risk capital to grow? Second is your liquidity through this particular system. What you should be doing. These are two important aspects I believe should be done by every MSME, apart from the ones of customs and free trade policy, free trade agreements, as well as foreign trade policy that needs to be done.
With that, we've come to the end of today's masterclass. Akshay, thank you so much for taking time out from your busy schedule and guiding our MSME community on Budget 2026 and its impact. Thank you.
It's an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much.
For our MSMEs who are online, if you'd like to view the current episode, if you've missed any part of the current episode, please go on YouTube, type GSW1 MSME, and you'll find all our episodes uploaded there. Thank you once again, Akshay. Bye-bye.
Thank you.